Sacramento's a good place. What happened was I was running the record department in the drugstore from, say, after getting out of the Army in 1946 to 52, which was just a retail drugstore, although we were selling a lot of jukebox operators that made it was a fledgling kind of business called a one-stop concept, where the jukebox operators used to go to the wholesalers and buy their records direct. They could buy them all the various labels in one place. So this is something that sort of grew up around the country. And so by 1952, I decided I wanted to expand that one-stop business and maybe go into the idea of being what was really a beginning kind of a business called rack jobbing for records, which meant that you put new records in stores, like dime stores and grocery stores and what have you, and you manage the record department in those stores. So that's what I wanted to do. And I and a friend of mine, a fellow by the name of John Edgerton, were going to open this up, and I wanted my father to finance it. Well, he didn't want to have anything to do with that, I'll tell you. So he said that, all right, he said, you want to do this, you do it on your own. I'll sell you the record department in the store, and I'm through with it. I don't have to worry about it anymore. So that's what he did. And it was one of these deals where the sale wasn't very complicated. He says, it's yours tomorrow. You have the inventory, you pay the bills, goodbye. Well, it lasted from 1952 to 1960 actually, and it was a sort of ill-fated because I didn't have any capital. I mean, there was zero amount of capital in there, and you had to depend upon credit, and you had to give credit because we were wholesaling up and down the state, and to carry an inventory and give credit to your customer, and the only credit you had was the credit from the suppliers, so you didn't have quite enough money to finance it all. There wasn't any public money, and I had no money, so it just died by its own. It collapsed on its own self. Really, it was a going business, but we just didn't have enough money to keep it going. My suppliers got mad at me and said, "This is it, go away, Solomon," and so they decided to take the business over, which meant they liquidated it. And in October, I think, of 1960, and I said, well, I got to have a job. I got to do this all over again. So about a month later, I reopened the record department in the drugstore. And then a month or so after that, we opened a little store out in north part of Sacramento, near Country Club Center. Country Club Lanes, actually, was in the bowling alley. And then after that, a year later, we moved into the Sam Gordon's building next to the Hofbrau. And that was really our beginning. So it was a difference between being in the wholesale business, even though during that period in the 50s, I still ran the little retail store. But because the wholesale operation collapsed, the retail operation collapsed along with it. So then a few weeks later, we opened it up again in the drugstore, and then later on in the second store. But it was a retail business and not a wholesale business. So that was all a world of difference because you didn't have to give credit to your customer. Well, I wanted my stores, my record stores, I wanted my stores where music was important, where there was something happening in the city or the town as a sort of a fountainhead of music. So look at where we went. We went to Los Angeles, of course, and then we went to Seattle later on, which became an important part of the emerging rock music and what have you. And then places like New Orleans and Nashville and New York and Chicago and Atlanta, actually. were cities where music was very important. The creation of music was very important. So that added to the sort of, principally it added to the audience that was there. And when you're selling something to a particular group of people who like music in this case, you want a great and varied audience. And we had a better audience in those kind of cities than anywhere else. Actually, as time went on, of course, we went to a lot of cities where that wasn't an important issue. Well, we had books in the drugstore. Actually, my sister was sort of husbanding that a little bit. What the books, part of it was only just paperback books on spinners, and along with magazines in the drugstore. And so it just was kind of, by 1963 or so, it was just kind of a natural kind of a connection between music and books. So I decided I got some space in Sam's building next door to the record store, actually, at Watt and El Camino, and decided to open a bookstore and see what would happen. And it turned out pretty well in those locations, in that location, and then later on we put one at 60th and Broadway. We got the building next door to our record store by then, and that turned out to be okay too. Later on, not so hot though, because we opened 15 or 20 of them around the country, and we weren't so good at the chain store business as we were operating a couple of them here in town. And we used the same theory as the record stores. In other words, we wanted to try to get as large a selection and a varied selection as we possibly could, which we apparently successfully did for a number of years. There was something pretty magical about the 16th Street store, just because of where it was in town. I mean, kind of the sort of the cultural thing, and they managed to cram more selection of books in there you could believe, and it really worked. I mean, people liked that one. They liked them both, actually. But the 16th Street store was the thing that was interesting about the book business is the people we got to run it. I mean, the people that showed up, and got hired. I mean, I can't take any credit for that. But the people that ended up running it, the people that were working in the stores, were, wonderfully overeducated sort of types of people that loved books and understood their customer and so on. And that was another thing. We became a chain bookstore, but we tried to run the book departments at the local level as opposed to trying to centralize it. We didn't do as well around the country with books as we did in Sacramento. I'm not sure about it being an empire, but yes, I do, as a matter of fact. I always thought that the perspective that you had on the world, looking at it from a place like Sacramento, was different than the perspective you might have had if you were looking at the world from New York or Los Angeles, because you thought that everything beyond the boundaries of a large city was a foreign country, whereas we were the outsiders and we could see it a little clearer somehow. And actually, I think it was one of the things that probably contributed to our success, was that very thing, that our viewpoint was different than people who started in large cities. Sacramento's a good place. You can get anywhere. I mean, I can go to Japan without too much trouble. I can go to New York, So I think that no, there wasn't, and for the very reason that I said earlier, the idea that your perspective and viewpoint was better from sitting here in Sacramento than maybe in a big city. But the idea of moving to a big city never never appealed to me at all. It was much more comfortable to be here, and probably cheaper too, actually. Sacramento's a good place to live. It really is, you know. And you asked earlier whether I'd ever considered going to a big city and headquartering and all that. I wouldn't ever. I mean, this is just too nice a place. It's been good to me, that's for sure. But I think it's just a good place to live. It's an easy place to live. It's comfortable. The weather's good. We have a lot of history around here, which is sort of fun, you know, to know about the Old Rush and all that, the railway. We have a lot to be proud of here.